Okay, so my production is a short film and a music video. So the song Easy Easy by King Crawl. So I want to start it off with a music video, not with a music video, with a short film with a monologue over it, and then it gradually goes into the music video. I'm entering my production into rain dance because I've entered it before, and I know the requirements and stuff. It's one of the largest independent film festivals in the UK, and it will be taking place on the 6th of October. And I'll also be entering the Best Music Video Awards. So over the course of the last year, I've completed 12 units for creative media. And doing this has taught me a lot of new skills and stuff that I need to put into each production as I do it. So it's taught me that there's a lot more to going into productions that people would think of, so like storyboarding, scripting, doing location research and sound, stuff like that. I've also chosen editing as my specialism, as it's what I got my best marks on. So for the project concept, I'm choosing to do a music video because, like I said, it's what I got my best marks on, and I know that I also want to choose controversial subjects like I did before for last year. So something like homelessness, like drug use, gang violence, something like that, that's quite big in the UK at the moment. I also know that I want to film in a big city like London or Manchester, just because for my other productions it was sort of local areas. I want to just expand that a lot more. So to evaluate myself each week, I know that I need to do weekly vlogs so that I stay on track of things, because for other productions I've fallen behind and it's put me in a bad place, but for this one I know that I need to keep up with what I'm doing by producing these weekly vlogs. Yeah, so this is my production schedule, just so that I can keep on top of things and I know what I'm doing on what days. So my first idea, which is the idea that I'm using, so it's a teenage boy who's just really down on his luck, everything's going wrong for him. His family have kicked him out, he's been kicked out of school, his girlfriend's cheated on him, everything's basically just making his life go downhill in a spiral. It's then about how he brings himself out of that and escapes from it through the use of skateboarding. So it's about him finding something to inspire himself and take his mind away from all the problems that he has and try and better himself off. So my second idea was the same it was the same idea basically, but just with a different ending. So the ending for the first one was the girl that broke up with him comes back and tries to get him back, but he's already moved on and he's happy with his life at the moment. So the second idea was that when she comes back, because she's depressed, he then brings her into skateboarding and tries to help her find a way. But from my surveys and stuff, I was able to see that my first idea was a lot better. My third idea was, so there's an elderly couple and the old man is coming to the end of his life. He's on his deathbed and the woman has a flashback to what her life used to be like, where she was a prostitute and she was heavy into drugs and just not having a good life. And so I wanted to show it from her perspective as well as his, so she sees this guy coming along and helping her out and giving her clothes, etc. And then I want to show it from his side as well. But from the surveys, I've stuck with the first idea, which I think will work the best as well. So I researched into different topics. So these are the surveys for my ideas, just asking people if they like them and which one they think they should choose. So for the production, I researched into different topics that I thought would help me a lot with what I'm doing. So this was depression, it was finding a way out of drugs, drug use in the UK, homelessness, and gang violence and gang activity, because there's parts in the film where I want to show peer pressure, where my character's being forced into situations that he doesn't want to be into. So, for example, people that he's with wanting to rob a shop and stick some guy up for some money and stuff, but it's obviously not what he wants to do. So for this I found that people with depression, so there's a lot of sadness and hopelessness, low self-esteem, sluggishness, and substance abuse, which is what I want to show for my character as well. So I want to show him not caring about what he looks like, he just doesn't really care about anything really. as well as, so for the drug use, there's peer pressure, stress, emotional struggles, which is stuff that he's all going through, and a desire to escape. I also found with book research that I found some quotes saying drugs are my only way to escape, so I want to show that in my production as well. So for target audience, so I found out from my focus group that my target audience should be 16 to 25, even though when I did my surveys it came out that my target audience should be 17 to 19, but that was only because that was the age range that I gave the people that were doing my survey. So from doing this focus group I was able to see that my topic is relatable to a much wider range of people than I thought it actually was. So from young people to 16 to 25, go through the same sort of issues with depression, like mental illness, substance abuse and stuff like that. I then produced surveys to find out what the genre was for my production, and I found out it was drama, due to the topics being really realistic and relatable to a lot of people. So from there I went on to look for the codes and conventions in the drama genre. So I looked into how the different editing techniques that I needed to use, for example, long takes, action matches and eye line matches and stuff like that. As well as setting up scenes, the characters, and basic narrative that you'd find in a drama. I then analysed 2 videos for this, where I pulled them apart and analysed everything in the scene. So I analysed a short film that was made by college students called Drowning Sorrows, which is a very similar sort of vibe to what I want to give out. So he's lying in bed, he doesn't know what to do, he's listening to his arguments fight, he has sleepless nights, he surrounds himself with alcohol and he gets into smoking and stuff. And the locations that are used are the big sort of wide range open shots signify his aloneness in life and convey his emotions well. I also looked at the song Wings by Macklemore because it follows the same sort of story of a boy who's down on his luck and he's trying to find himself back up, but through this it was him buying a pair of trainers that make him feel better, but in my production it'll be a skateboards. So, like I said before, I did test shoots on the codes and convention stuff that I looked into. So, action matches, so someone walking and doing something the same way in different shots just to show a wide range of what's going on. As well as an eye line match, which is really crucial for drama because if someone's having a conversation, most of the time the audience need to guess who they're talking to just by them looking off, say, to the right of the screen, the other person should be looking left. I also looked at long takes, which is something that I want to use because it involves the audience a lot more in what's going on, so they can see like a massive range of what's going on in the screen, and the camera follows the character. So say in my production, if the character's walking through London and there's a scene where he walks into an alleyway and he's about to be robbed, for that I'll be following him with the camera and then showing everything in the scene so it all comes together. So then I looked at narrative structure, where I found out that I'm using the dramatic narrative structure, so it works off the idea of exposition, conflict, and then denouement. So the exposition is where it starts off almost disrupted already. So in my production, he starts off and there isn't no context before. It starts off straight away with he's down on his luck. The conflict's pretty much straight away there. Sorry. When it goes into the conflict then, that's more of the conflict with himself, so fighting himself with the addictions that he has and the problems that he has. The denouement is then the resolution of that, so the way that he finds an escape from the conflict, which in this case is skateboarding. I looked at Kill Bill for the same narrative sort of structure, because in Kill Bill it starts off straight away with the action, you don't get any context. And throughout the whole film there's different flashbacks throughout it to give you more of the context as it's going on, which is something that I want to use. So when my character's walking about London and he's skating around, he's got these flashbacks coming back into his head of what his life used to be like, but he brushes them off and he gets himself back going.
You've got 3 minutes left.
3 minutes. I then created character profiles so I could get a good idea of what I want my characters to look like and how I want them to act, as well as analysing a video for that as well, so I got a better understanding of how I want my character to act around other people. He doesn't want to involve himself with anyone else other than himself. And I went off the prop character theory of the hero, villain and donor. Even though it doesn't really fit in as the classic stereotypes, he's the hero because he's on a quest searching for something, which is searching for a better life. I then did auditions for the characters, because there's only 2 characters in my production, the girl and the boy. And I wanted to make sure that they suit each other, so I chose Dennis, as he looks quite old. He could have that scruffy beard look as well, so when he's looking depressed and stuff, his appearance really conveys what he's feeling. And for my auditions I chose Millie, because she's a similar sort of height to Dennis as well, and I don't want it to look awkward between them on camera, so I don't want her to be too small or too short compared to him. So for locations, I looked into locations that I wanted to use and had a really good idea of what I wanted to do, but then also why I couldn't use them. For example, I would love to use a desert, but obviously I'm not going to be able to go through a desert to do my final major project. So I then did location recce's throughout, which also helped me to problem solve, as I was able to assess like the hazards and what I'd need to take and what I need to think about whilst I was there, so nearest exits, stuff like that. So the mise en scène, I thought into this a lot and I analysed the video for it. So his room needs to be messy, which signifies his state of mind. His bed needs to be unmade and dirty, the curtains should be half closed, just showing that he doesn't really care about anything. His clothes start off fairly normal, but as the story progresses and he becomes more depressed and the person that he is, his clothes just become stained, dirty, sort of ripped, and he just doesn't care. So for sounds, I know that for my short film there's going to be a monologue over the start of it, sorry, so there won't be that many sounds, but I want to have an underlying sort of building beat to build up towards the conflict, and then obviously in my music video there won't be any added sounds. So this is my storyboard as well, so I just wanted to show, I'm really bad at drawing, but I just wanted to show some of the scenes within it that I know that I can portray really well. So the alleyway scene that I talked about before, where he's about to be robbed or beaten up or something, and then he comes out and sees this group of skaters and is then inspired. Yeah. How does this suit my target audience? It suits my target audience because I know that all the topics that are in my production are relatable from teenagers all around the world. I mean, everyone suffers with mental health issues at some point. Drug use, being bound to peer pressure, things like that. And how will I succeed? I forgot, anyone want to ask me this? I forgot what I said about this.
Well, I've got a few questions. Has anyone got any first before I start? Okay. So you've initially outlined your target audience as being sort of around 17 to 19, I think you said.
Yeah, for my surveys.
But then your surveys said that maybe it was a little bit broader than that.
So for my surveys, I had different multiple choice options.
Yeah.
So it was like 16 to 17, 17 to 19, going up in twos, just to narrow it down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I found out that it was males aged 17 to 19, but because of my focus group, it allowed me to realise that actually...
Okay, so you've narrowed it down to... Okay.
Yeah, so without my focus group, it would be a lot smaller.
Yeah, so because it's changed a little bit based off your focus group, how are you going to make sure that you meet what the wider audience needs and not just the sort of the narrower one?
So when I did my focus group, they gave me a lot of ideas. So the costumes that people should be wearing to suit the target audience a lot more. So the clothes that people our age wear, the way that they act, the locations used. So I wouldn't be going to a lot of like countryside towns where older people would be going. I want a big city like hustle and bustle where a lot of young people like thrive, and that's where they are at the moment.
You've given me a good sort of outline as to how your production works through. How does it end? What's sort of the resolution?
So the resolution, I want to go off the idea of karma. So the girl cheats on him at the start of during the monologue, and he talks about it. So I want to show throughout the production her side of it as well, a little bit, but not too much. So every now and again, it will cut back to how she's feeling and how she's coping with the breakup. So she'll be depressed the same way that he is because they've lost each other. And yeah, it basically ends up with she comes to London to try and find him. She knows that he's moved there, runs up to him, finds him, and then he doesn't want any of it anymore because he's over it. He's happy. He's found his new life. He doesn't want anything to do with his old life anymore. And then she's then forced into the position that she put him in.
Okay.
So yeah, karma.
And the last one I've got is, what sort of problems and issues have you identified that you might have to overcome, and what ones have you already had to overcome during the process?
I think the only really problems that I had to overcome was finding the right locations for it, as well as doing the auditions. So I needed to overcome the problem of finding someone that was actually good enough to do the production. I didn't want to just use one of my mates, although Dennis is one of my good mates. I know that he's got experience in acting before, and he's been in my productions, so I know that there isn't a problem there with him. I don't think that I faced that many problems really doing this. Other than finding the research that I needed to, I had to do quite deep for stuff about gang violence and stuff like that, for the statistics that I need to know to portray my production. But yeah, I don't think I ran into that many problems, to be fair.
Okay, cheers.